Hello and welcome back to the Fasting Focus Lifestyle Podcast. Today, as you can see, I have a wonderful guest with me, Miss Gwen. She's going to be talking about her story, her journey, what has led her up to where she's at today. And it's exciting, and I'm really proud to be connected with another like-minded individual in this community. So stay tuned. Welcome to the Fasting Focus Lifestyle Podcast, where each week I will be discussing all things fasting and how it can become the most valuable tool in your personal toolkit so that you can live a long, healthy, and meaningful life. I'm your host, Vicki Sharon, and thank you for joining me. All right, so we have Miss Gwen here, and Miss Gwen, as a side, I know we've connected and been kind of in communication for a little while now. And seeing every time I see the massive loss, and by massive, I mean like at least 100 pounds or more, I get emotionally tied to, like, I'm invested, like as much as folks see the inspiration and motivation that I give. I really like to see other folks making similar changes in their, and your story really resonated with me as much as I hope it resonates with our listeners here today. So Gwen, I want you to give an introduction as we get started on who you are, and then we'll go from there.
All righty. Well, my name is Gwen. Um, I've been in the fasting world about 2018, 2019 is kind of where it started for me. I was at 330 pounds. I had kind of struggled with my weight my whole life. I had managed to lose weight, gain weight, all those types of things. Sorry about that.
You're right.
I grew up, I was athletic. I was always heavier than the other kids, but I was always athletic. I was always very interested in health, that type of thing. As I got older, I was in a bad car accident in 2013 that really hurt my back, and it was a lot of stress, no sleep, just a whole bunch. And that lasted, it was a lot of pain for a lot of years, type of thing. And I just was putting on weight. I got up to the 330 was like the highest. And I had done low carb back in the day, and I'd done well with it. I would be able to lose like 80 pounds, stay there for a couple of years, and then something would happen and I would gain even more weight, type of thing. And it would be like this huge yo-yo situation, huge yo-yo. But I had been 330, and I had been going from 300 to 330, 300 to 330 for a long time. I would just go right back and forth. I was stuck in a loop. And I noticed when I got to 330, that's when I really felt sick. Like that last 30 pounds is what would really do me in. And I knew that I had to find something, and surgery was never an option for me. I just am not into anything that's so permanent, and so that's just was not an option. I'm not someone that's going to take pills from the doctor. That's not something I would do. I'll take every vitamin I can find, but I would not take a prescription type pill. So I got onto YouTube, and I just was like, somebody out there. I just started searching, somebody knows something, right? Somebody knows something. And that is when I started running into the healthy alternative group, right? I see a video of Stephen, and he had been so overweight. He was where I was at. I don't know what his exact weight was, but I'm watching the video and I'm looking at this man and I'm like, wait a minute, he looks normal, right? You couldn't tell by looking at him he'd ever been so large. So then I'm like, wait a minute, these people found something, right? So I start watching all these water fasting videos. I start looking into the intermittent fasting. Of course, at that time, I'm still like, what do you eat, right? Because my life, I ate fast food, I promise you, 3 times a day.
Wow.
I would go get it for breakfast on the way to work. I would eat out at lunch, at the little restaurant in our building. And then for dinner, if I could sneak one in, I would get another one in, before I even got home, right? So me and the fast food drive-throughs were just,
Oh yeah.
okay. I always called me, I was a fast food junkie.
Oh yeah.
Okay, it was my addiction, right? I start watching the water fasting and I'm like, okay, so they don't eat, every meal, they don't eat every day or, that type of thing. So at first, as much as I would try, the moment I would hit anywhere near close to 24 hours, the idea of going to bed without eating, my whole system would be like, no, we might die before morning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I would panic. I would feel this panic.
Yeah.
And then, the first time I remember that I managed to go a whole day without the eating and I went to sleep and I woke up, right? Like I'm still
Yeah.
here. I'm still
Yeah.
here, right? So I was like, okay, well, I can make it through one day, right? So, it became this game where I was still fast fooding it. Don't get me wrong. The food was still way out of control. But I found that I was like, okay, I can skip meals, right? I
Yep.
can do that. I
Yeah.
can do that. So I would still, in the beginning, I would still go to the fast food. I would maybe get breakfast, right? But I wouldn't eat lunch at work, or I would eat dinner when I got home. It was no hard set thing. It was just kind of starting to start cutting those meals, cutting those. And this is what I tell people when they're asking me how to get to fasting, right? I'm like, well, maybe you're not ready to go 3 days, 4 days. That's fine. Start where you can. I started with skipping a meal here and there, still eating fast food. And it was about 4 or 5 months went by that I had been doing mainly starting to skip the meals and maybe a day here and there, really just trying to figure it all out. I had dropped like 40 or 50 pounds in about a 4 month span without even really realizing it. Like
Yeah.
it was so easy that I was just kind of like, wow. I
Yeah.
had went from 330 down to, it was about 280 when I really kind of was like, oh wait, something's happening. It's like it's happening. I'm feeling better. The I was like an undiagnosed diabetic, type
Mhm.
2.
Yep.
But I had all the symptoms. That's what was making me feel so sick, right? So all those symptoms, all that, you know, all those feelings of the blood sugars and all that, it was all gone. It was all gone. And at that point is when I got very excited.
Yeah.
I was like,
Things are
it's
starting to
working.
show.
It's showing. I can see it. They can see it. People are asking me. It's like, okay. So I that's when I started shooting for the 3 day fast, rolling
Mhm.
fast. Now, all that to say, I was eating, I would go 3 days and then I would go straight to pie pies. I would go straight to Jack in the Box. I would still want to go get those same
Mhm.
meals, right? But the difference was when I would go, those foods would make my stomach hurt. Yeah. So the body was trying to tell me, like, this is not the right food for
Yep.
you. Stop this. So it took a few tummy aches, right?
Yep.
I was like,
Yep.
oh, that wasn't a good idea.
Yep.
But the next fast, I would still do it.
Yep.
It took, I don't know, it took maybe like a month of tummy aches to kind of really just
Really get in there. And
really get in there and be like, okay, I'm not
isn't
gonna
that
eat that.
incredible? That is absolutely
Yeah,
incredible. I remember
that
same kind of experience myself and really catching full steam. And just the way that you're describing it is testing the body's limits and challenging what you already know as your practice habits. And just that deliberate abstention from, hey, I usually eat 3 meals a day. Well, what if I just remove one of those
one.
and just, yeah, and working your way up to that point, the mental shift, as you were saying, that took about like 3 to 4 months.
Yeah,
Some people it happens sooner, some people it happens a little bit later, and that's totally fine. That's totally fine.
yeah.
But you do, when that shift happens, it's intertwined in between, as well as around that time of fat adaptation. So you start to have that
Mm,
bodily realization of, hey, I better clean up and pay attention to the foods that are going into the body, because as you know,
yes.
realize through this point is at some point you realize food isn't just a pacifying thing I'm just shoving to make me feel good or to fill a void. It's actually the fuel and sustaining me, carrying me through to the next time that I'm going to be eating again.
Yes.
So then, like, without thinking that deliberately, we think about it unconsciously, like, hey, this stomach ache feels horrible. I don't want this again. Like, we think child consequences, like,
Yes.
it's hot, don't touch it. Stay away from stove when it's on. Hey,
Yes.
in this fasting eating window, I should know I want to test and experiment. And with that childish kind of like creative, open,
Yes.
everything is new kind of mindset.
Yes.
What do I like? And
Yes.
tiptoeing slowly instead of this is your food list, measure, measure, count, count, measure.
Oh, I can't do that. I
Nope.
cannot.
Same. Preach it.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
So
cannot do anything that's too complicated.
yeah,
It
yes.
needs to be simple for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I kind of go a different route with my food choices. I'm more of a eggs.
Yeah.
Uh, you know,
I like
I'm in the carnivore way, but I feel like once you figure out what your body likes and once
mm-hmm.
you figure out what does good for you,
Yep.
weigh every day, see where you're at, and then that way you can keep your eye on the ball
Yeah.
and really keep yourself on course. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. So we have a great introduction and your history that brought you into fasting. I want you to talk a little bit more about your fasting journey specifically. I want you to also mention and really go over as much as you feel comfortable, what
Okay.
struggles you had, plateaus,
Okay.
setbacks, challenges on top of what you already discussed,
Okay.
and how you overcame them.
Okay. So, like I said in the beginning, I was 330. Okay. In the beginning, 330. And in 11 months, because I was so hardcore, no, I don't even want to use the word hardcore, excited
Yeah.
and disciplined with it. It wasn't hardcore, it was excitement.
Right.
And I went from the 330 down to 168
Wow.
in 11 months.
Yep.
Okay. And I was able to hold that very steady for 2 years. Okay.
Wow.
My weight was only going from about 170 to 180,
Mhm.
here and there, which is normal. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Just women,
Yeah.
And I had learned I was good with that. I was very happy with that. I had developed a very fasted, focused lifestyle, right? Where I just kind of stay fasted, right? That's how I like to be. I don't look for a full feeling in my stomach anymore, none of that. So everything was very good. Well, you get to this point where maybe you're an autopilot a little bit because it almost seems like the 330. I had forgotten about her, right? That was over. This was a new life now, and I'm skinny me now, and I was very happy with that. Well, there was just a stressful event. We'll just say there was a stressful time, and at the time, I really didn't even equate these things together.
Mhm.
But in about a 4 month span, I would say the end of 2021, from about October to February, I put on 60 pounds.
Wow.
60 pounds. And we were going to a lot of restaurants. I started to let other foods back in that I didn't normally eat. A lot of restaurant stuff, though. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I was allowing foods in that I normally wouldn't mess with. I don't really touch breads, right? I'm not into bread, sweets, anything like that. But I was allowing that stuff back into my life. And then about February-ish, I had hit this realization of, whoa, you've gained a lot of weight. You're at 230 pounds, right? Now we have backslidden. And now we are very confused and very upset with ourselves. And we're like, I'm saying we because,
Yep.
it all,
Yep.
you
Oh
realize
yeah.
your mind and you and your body, we're all in this together.
Yep.
But I realized I was like, something is, the weight stopped gaining.
Mhm.
I was holding. And then I did the same battle between 215 and 230 for a year. And
Mhm.
see, we had talked, and I know we had talked about me coming on the show and everything, and I really wanted to. And I was like, oh, this is motivation. So I'm telling myself, and I'm like, yeah, I can do this. Let me get back on track. But I wasn't getting back on track. I would get back down to 215, and then all of a sudden I'm self-sabotaging, and
Mhm.
I'm getting right back to 230, 215, 230. So at the beginning or the end of last year, this was about a year that I was stuck in this, little rut right here. And at the end of last year, I started looking through pictures, right? I wanted to look at skinny me again so I could really connect with her and be like, where were we, skinny girl? Like, what do we need to do to get back to you, right? What's happening? So I realized by looking at the timeline of my photos where the weight gain had started and where it had stopped.
Yep.
And then it had went normal. And I realized, oh, this was a stressful time. And I put on the weight. My subconscious, the little girl in me, started eating to protect ourselves.
Yep.
We were protecting ourselves. And even though all that had ended, I had never gone back and told little me, hey, calm down, we're good. You can let all this go, right? You can let it go. So realizing what it was that my subconscious, because it's always subconscious, right? It's always about what's going on in your subconscious.
Yep.
I talked to subconscious me, little girl me, and I was like, hey, we're safe. We're fine. Everything's good. God's got us. It's no worries, right? The moment that I did that, it all went away. It all changed. And now, since the beginning of this year, I have gone from 230. As of this morning, I'm 195. I have passed that 215 to 230.
Oh,
but not only that, I know now that I'm good. I'm on it. I'm back on course. So I think, it did take me a long time to bounce back, but it was realizing where the problem happened, forgiving myself for backsliding, forgiving myself. And it's really not even back. It was, whatever it was the little me trying to protect me type of thing. But I had to release that. I had to stop being upset with myself. And because it's almost like anybody that's lost that significant amount of weight, it feels like a failure to be like, wow, what happened, right? So yeah, I just had to let that go, accept it, regroup, and get back to what was working for me before. I started weighing again every day, because if you don't look at the numbers, you don't know where you're at, right? I would avoid the scale because I didn't want it to tell me what the truth was. So now I'm back to weighing every day just to keep my eye on. And I also am just making sure to use the Life app with the to track the fast, because by doing that, I find that when you use the app and you say my window's closed, that's easier for me to say, well, window's closed now. We're not eating right now. So it just,
that's incredible. I resonate with a lot of things that you mentioned. And one of the things especially that was most meaningful along the journey was the more gamification, the way that you kind of describe it, of seeing the weight. And even I think about how I say things verbally, because what we say holds on subconsciously, which is, as a side note, I'm full of asides today, sorry.
I love sides.
I say that I shed, not lost, because that mindset of you lose something, we usually want to find
it. Yes,
right.
yes.
You shouldn't want to try to find it.
I don't want to find it.
It's like shed off of me.
Yeah, but I like the word shed.
Yeah, using the scales readings, even if you do it on a daily fashion, totally fine. And I say if with like cautious, like red tape warning, whoop, whoop, be careful. If you feel your value is determined on whether that number is higher or lower, and that sets the tone and mood for the day, you should pull back. However, if you are folks that have evolved, once you get to that point in mindset, as you will, if not already, is when you see that data point, regardless if it's up or down, be excited, have this kind of playful gamification mindset of if it's down, hooray, yes, we keep going. If it's still, okay, what can I do? And think about it in a puzzly kind of problem solving way. Without the negative attachments, without speaking poorly to ourselves. And then the same as if it goes up, whatever the number that goes up, if you see it go up, remove the self-deprecation. Don't, we want to avoid throwing ourselves under the bus. See it as, okay, well, what did I do in the past 24 hours? Well, I celebrated this. I'm thankful I had these moments and opportunities to have this, be with this person, have a special, sometimes food, indulgence, whatever. Appreciate and be grateful for these moments, because absolutely they should be just present as consistently as they show up in your life. And to know this lifestyle of integrating the fasting is something that should seamlessly integrate without causing any like drama or any unnecessarily complications. Because it's really, this is a long lifetime, flexible, amazing tap at your body's magic sauce kind of tool that, you know, store bought. Anytime anybody says anything about, you know, I say with finger quotes, being fat or fat, whatever in general, my brain now sees it as, hey, you have bodily energy that your body has put aside to burn later.
And the deep freezer.
It's like the deep freezer or the spare gas tank for their truck, car, vehicle, whatever that's, you know, sitting in the garage, but you just keep buying more gas and putting it out there, and you just think
never use that other gas. Exactly.
So it's incredible.
It's when there's a lot of people, you know, I've done some coaching, and I got away from it because I couldn't coach for a while because I was so, you know, I was having to coach me, right? Like I was in a weird place. But I always tell people to make it a game with themselves. Like even with the rolling 72s, okay? I tell them, look, you're not always going to make it to 72. Okay. Sometimes it may be 24 hours. Sometimes it may be 48. Sometimes it might be 5. Okay. Don't beat yourself up. Make it a game. Reset the clock and see how far you can go again. Like, I beat me this time. Not this time, you know. And, you know, I just don't overthink it. Just enjoy it and keep going. I have also come, like what you were saying, like when you have events and things like that, you want to go see family.
Absolutely.
I have learned in the beginning of my fasting journey, I would be like, I'm fasting, I'm not eating, right? And not that I would necessarily tell them that, but it would be something, you know, that I would know. And so I would have that idea when I went to the party, I can't eat anything, you know, you know, I'm going to enjoy myself, but I'm not going to eat. But I have learned that when I'm going to something, if they have some ribs, I'm going to eat them. You know what I'm saying? If it's a party or something like that, I'm not going to go over there and eat the cakes and anything like that. I'm still going to eat foods that I would have chosen if it was a normal.
And as you should. That's balance. That's a beautiful balance.
That way I can still be in the, you know, together social setting, but I have boundaries of this is what I'll eat, you know, and this is what I won't eat.
That's beautiful. That's truly how it should be. That's such a beautiful way to think about it too. And we have boundaries with people that we have in our life. Why not do that? The same routines, practices, things that we put into our mouth, and this balance that happens of being present to participate without those limiting, restrictions of, you know, thinking we have this fictitious food list parameters that we have to stick by. No, like go participate. Go participate because this is your life, and it's, you know, your health span influences your lifespan, which influences your longevity. And do you want to have this long length of time throughout your life as just torture and throwing your
quality of life? What do you want your quality of life to
like? And that you can still have that through this fasting journey is so beautiful and commonsensical. Like that's the way it's supposed to be.
Commonsensical.
I want to retouch again on the point that you made with the kind of like alluding to the topic of slight body dysmorphia. And I know that personally from experience, and it's something I still minorly struggle with. The way that you beautifully were just describing about like talking to your inner self and kind of shaking it out in there is awesome. And I know that practice does come with practice and being able to be vulnerable and comfortable with ourselves. But through this process with the weight loss and having it be at our own speed, not having to measure up to somebody else, not being on anybody else's clock, allows those natural bodily transitions and changes to happen. And when we remove what the expectation is or societal standards away from there, it allows us to really fully appreciate what we see uncover within. And I always like, anytime body dysmorphia or like the topic pops into my mind, I just imagine this photo, and I'm sure you've probably seen it throughout the pipelines of the fasting communities. It's this giant stone sculpture, and I know it's like a digital graphic, but
where it's kind of
she's chipping away. And you think about these ancient sculptures, because also I'm an art nerd. So like you think about how much time that takes in that chipping away. Let it take its, I just got
that's beautiful. The time that it takes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It should take its time. Your body is doing some freaking deep cellular cleaning, cellular restoration. And we need to allow it. And when it's that gradual increase of intensity, as you were talking about over time, that's when we can still, it's like when you play a video game too, and you want to keep challenging yourself to get to the next level. And that's how the process should be seen of as well, in a method that we can get excited when things go great, be, all right. Yeah, I had a hard day, or I let myself, I allowed myself to participate in this event with these situations and stuff without negative attachment, without beating ourselves up or throwing ourselves off the track.
And really, we got to be like that in our whole life.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's the beauty, where it overlaps into everything.
Yes, everything.
And you realize
fasting taught me the difference between really like who I am and my thoughts.
Yep.
Because the moment you say, I'm not going to eat, your mind starts saying, hey, we might die. Hey, we got to eat.
And
hey, this sounds
where
good.
did that come from? Like, where?
I didn't think that.
Yes.
I didn't tell us to think that. So it really will teach you the difference. And then you will start to master those thoughts. And I always say, it's like, I'll tell my mind, or I tell my tummy, I'm the captain now.
Yep.
I'm the captain.
That's funny that you say that. I would look, because my biggest insecurity, and it still kind of is, even though I know numerically, like I'm this size that I've never been before finding fasting. And I remember so many times, and my late husband used to laugh at me. He's like, oh, Vicky, you're so silly. But I would look down to my legs, and anytime I had those like, I'm hungry, like stomach gurgles, I would look down to my legs and thighs, and I would slap them and be like, you got food right here. Like, I would tell my body, you're a snack. Like, eat this up right here. Like, stop bothering me. Use this.
The body is like, I want to, but you keep eating.
I know. That practice and habit, it's something that we're just ingrained to, without going too far down like a matrix tangent rabbit. But why are we believing societal standards if they're not something that's helping our overall bodily health? And
I mean,
broken thought of just like feeling like we need to eat 3 meals a day, snacks in between. Oh, and you have to count and measure them, and in order to lose weight, man. According to who? And all the data that continues to come in, and for the benefit and efficacy of this method, of this lifestyle, the fact that more doctors and practitioners are recommending this to finally. I feel like it continues to turn the tides a little bit more at a time, and more people are realizing it. More and more data continues to come in. And I don't like also when I hear folks say that this is the newest fad. It's not a fad. This is something our bodies
This is ancient. This is forever. This is forever. I tell people, I'm like, look, if you just look, a couple hundred years ago, they didn't have grocery stores on every corner. They did not have fridges. You were not getting, all of this stuff all the time. You may not eat that day. And guess what? You could not just shut down if you didn't get a snack.
Right.
Okay. We would all be dead. Okay. Right. People had to go out there and they had to hunt animals, right? And they had to bring it back and then find a way to, preserve it, keep it, that type of thing. But in the winter, what were they eating? You know what I mean? If we were just going to fall over from missing a meal or two, we would not be here.
Yep.
I do have one thing that I want to make sure that you get in. to this
Absolutely.
video.
Absolutely.
When you are new to fasting and you are not like me, I have the base. You have the base.
Hmm.
You know from experience that this is real. All right. You know that you are healthier than you've ever been in your life. So you know that. But think back to when you were a baby faster, right? And if you start talking about it, people will tell you, oh my gosh, just like your mind would have,
Yep.
oh my gosh, no, you got to eat 5 meals a day and you got to do this and this and this. You just got to exercise more. So remember, the first rule of fasting
We
is
don't.
don't talk about fasting.
Yeah.
And I just mean in the new sense, because I tons of people were telling me in the beginning, no, you're just going to gain all that back. That is a fad. That is
Mhm.
dangerous. That is this. That is that. And it's been several years. And even though I did have the little rebound, look, I
Mhm.
course corrected. I'm back on the direction.
Yep.
I am not 330 pounds, and
Right.
I will never be that again because I have a tool in my toolbox now that I know, even at my craziest, I know that I can go back to that
Yep.
and, fix course correct. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, the first rule of the fasting club is we don't talk about fasting. Not to outsiders, not until
Yeah.
we're sure.
I mean, the results just like that should speak for themselves. And then
Yeah.
when the results do happen, people will ask you and you just say, I've been
Yes.
just practicing this lifestyle.
You're like,
And
what are you doing? Here, let me
yeah,
show let me
yep.
show you. Yeah.
Yeah, the sauce
Yeah.
speaks for itself. The proof
Hmm.
in that pudding will reveal
Yeah.
itself. Absolutely. So to before we get things wrapped up here, but I do want to get into the last thing I want to ask as we wrap it up. What does a fasting lifestyle mean to you and why you would recommend it on top of things that you just said?
You know what? To me, it is it's natural for the body. It
Hmm.
is pursuing health.
Yeah.
It is pursuing longevity. It is something that it's a discipline,
Yeah.
right? And I tell people it's like a muscle. It's just like working out. You wouldn't just start doing marathons your first day,
Right.
but it's a muscle, and the more you use it, the easier it gets. Really, it's just to me, it was a life changing, life
Hmm.
saving,
Yeah.
and I will be doing this for the rest of my life,
Same.
forever. And even my children, they're you know like with my youngest son, I don't push meals on him. I let him say, "Hey, mom, can you make me something to eat?" And then I'll go make him something to eat, that kind of thing, because I don't want to program him with the we eat 3 times a day. So
Hmm.
me, it's just life changing. It's going to help me and my children going forward. So that's, yeah.
Better. It sounds like a lot more healthier eating styles and more
Yes,
intuitive eating, listening to the body
yes,
signals,
yes,
all that stuff.
yes.
Ah, that's so lovely. I'm going to give you another big virtual hug because I appreciate you coming on and hanging
Thank
out
you.
with me. It's been a blast.
Yes,
Um,
ma'am.
for anybody that's interested in hearing your story more, do you want to tell folks where they can find you? I'll also include links in the show
Okay.
as well.
My Instagram and my TikTok, which I am starting to try to grow the TikTok because I want to start doing coaching on there. It's fasting_ketovore, but I'll send you the exact,
Sure, sure.
whatever.
Yeah.
But it's Gwendolyn Webster on Facebook, or I use hashtag Coach Webster a
Mhm.
lot on like Instagram and Facebook. So if they did hashtag Coach Webster spelled out all the way, they'll find me quickly. But I'll send you the exact spelling of
Awesome. That sounds good.
fasting ketovore.
Yeah. Well, thank you again so much.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's been wonderful chatting with you.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I look forward to more updates and happy communications with you in the future. So,
Yes, ma'am. Anytime. Thank you so much.
pleasure.
Yes.
The Fasting Focused Lifestyle Podcast. Copyright 2023. The information given within this podcast is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Please consult your doctor before starting any weight loss method. Thank you.
Hello, Saver. Whether you're saving for that trip to the tropics or saving for an emergency, now is the time to take advantage of Wells Fargo's savings options. Wells Fargo offers savings accounts that can help you save towards your goals. So, what are you saving for? Visit a Wells Fargo branch or wellsfargo.com/save to open a savings account today.
Wells Fargo Bank, N.A., member FDIC.